Hi everyone and welcome to our final project presentation. My name is Grace Angeles and this project is done by Team 1, which includes myself, Kelsey, and Michelle. Here is our table of contents for this presentation. We have abstract and topic, problem statement and hypothesis, independent and dependent variables, control and materials, extension and application, and finally our results, conclusion, and recipe index. Okay, so if everyone wants to take a moment and grab their tasting cup A. Inside tasting cup A, we have our control cream puff shell with a diplomat cream, which consists of a control pastry cream and whipped cream. And finally, it's topped with strawberries. This control is our basic recipe of pâte à choux, pastry cream, and choux topping. How can we create a cream puff that is the ideal version and achieves a high-quality standard pastry for bakery production? First up, we'll talk about how we solve this problem. We decided that we wanted to challenge ourselves with experimenting our way to the ideal cream puff. To test this goal, we began by altering through variations in baking time and temperature, flour blends, crackle and thickness, and flavoring. The next question is, what methods were used to solve the problem? And to answer that, we initially thought that these alterations would be simple and lead us to a road of success, but we were very incorrect. After experimenting with multiple failed attempts of different flour blends, different ratios of strawberry inclusions, different crackling thickness, and oven trials, we had reached our final conclusion of what we wanted, but it took lots and lots of different methods to get to our final result. Lastly, what were the major results obtained? And overall, the research that we conducted left us with a finalized cream puff that we felt embodied the ideal cream puff, which included an airy structure, a fluffy cream filling, a thick crust, and it being golden brown, nicely cooked. And this also meant a high quality standard for any bakery production or bakery group. And finally, what were the conclusions from the experiment? Overall, during this project, we learned that altering flavor menus and flavor alterations means moisture adjustment. This also means that the temperature in the oven can determine product results. Thickness of crackling matters, and flour blends result in different changes, and that you can ultimately highlight and redefine the meaning of a cream puff to your own definition of perfection. So the inspiration behind doing cream puffs was honestly behind our fundamentals at the CIA. It was brought upon by wanting to go back to the basics of fundamentals class and to honestly perfect basics that we learned when we started. As a group of seniors, we wanted to incorporate multiple elements of our journey here at CIA into one singular bite. Some background on the cream puff is that the cream puff is composed of airy pastry, light cream filling, and powdered sugar dusting. And a little history of cream puffs. According to Days of the Year, they originated in 1540 when Catherine de Medici, pastry chef, created the baked puff shell for Catherine's husband, Henry II of France. And National Cream Puff Day is celebrated on January 2nd to bring light to this delicate pastry. And why did we choose this product? Our team decided to use the fundamental techniques in a cream puff, the tools, and our own knowledge to inspire an experimental report of creating our ideal cream puff. This simple dessert requires process and thoughtful action, which is why we expected to see some challenges while experimenting. And then the 3 challenges we plan to face when facing this experiment is the process of creation and remaining consistent. For example, while we're making the pat au choux or while we're making the pastry cream, different people do it different ways, but we wanted to make sure our whole team was doing a consistent process. The next would be strawberry flavor incorporation. We thought it would be easier than it is, and it was actually a very, very hard challenge to incorporate a strawberry flavor strong enough that we had desired from the beginning. And we also didn't have a way of getting extract, which put up a lot of challenge with having to find what way was best. And then lastly, how to make our product unique and fit our perfect standards that we had set in our head would be a challenge that we were going to face as well. Here is our bibliography of resources for this PowerPoint slide and our research paper.
How can we create a cream puff that is the ideal version and achieves a high-quality standard pastry for bakery production? By experimenting with 4 variations that are the bake time and temperature, the crackling thickness on top, a variety of flours, and creating a strawberry and matcha flavor, we can achieve the ideal cream puff with a high-quality standard. Independent variables. 1. Flour blends. We will be testing 6 different flour variations: cake, AP, whole wheat, 50-50 blend of bread and cake, a 75 and 25 blend of bread and cake, a 50-50 blend of bread and whole wheat, and we'll be choosing the best based on height. 2. Bake times and temperatures. We will be testing several baking times and temperatures to see which bake will give us an amber color and a light airy structure in the middle. The temperatures we will be testing is a 375 dec for 25 minutes and venting for 15, a 375 convection, baking for 20 minutes, a 350 convection, baking for 20 minutes, a 350 dec, baking for 25 minutes and venting for 15, and then a 325 convection, baking for 40 minutes. 3. Strawberry flavoring. We will be testing if we can incorporate strawberry flavoring in the pat au choux and crackling by adding strawberry powder and strawberry syrup. And then we'll be measured using surveys. 4. Crackling thickness. We will be testing which level of thickness was preferred texturally through a survey. Dependent variables. For our flour variations, we will be measuring based on the total height in centimeters with a ruler. For our bake times and temps, we will be measuring the color based off of a color scale, and we will be comparing the crumb structure based off of pictures. Strawberry flavoring. In our survey, we will be asking a series of questions about which sample tasted the best in flavor and texture. Crackling thickness. In this survey, we will be asking which crackling texture they enjoyed the most.
So next we'll talk about our controls for this experiment, and our controls are elements that we kept the same. And the first one is that the diplomat cream that we did for the filling was the same ratio of pastry cream to whipped cream. We just changed around some flavors, but besides that it was kept the same. The second would be the choux dough recipe, which was kept the same besides small alterations, which included flavoring the dough or adjusting what type of flour we used, but all the measurements were remaining the same. And lastly, we talked about the fresh strawberry addition at the bottom of our final product. We wanted to keep that same throughout the whole process so that there was strawberry flavor in every product. The special materials that we used for this project were freeze-dried strawberry powder, strawberry syrup, silt pads, full sheet pans, and a dough sheeter.
If we had more time to experiment, we would like to try more ways to add strawberry flavor into the dough. We could scratch the sugar syrup and freeze-dried strawberry powder and use strawberry extract instead. Or we can try and make the pâte à choux matcha flavored instead of strawberry flavored. We also could experiment with different crackling recipes and see which variations of those recipes give us the best results. We also would try different flavor combinations and experiment with fresh milled flours.
So next we're going to talk about the application of this experiment. So first, what are some possible applications of the experiment? Overall, the application for this experiment includes cream puff shells with crackling topping and the ideal version for bakery sales. Bakers can use our findings to future create a better version of their favorite cream puff recipe through flavor incorporation, crackling thickness, flour blends, and oven temperatures to highlight the product overall. The next question is, how do the findings from this investigation be used in a day-to-day production? The pâte à choux recipe can be adjusted to meet any flavor guideline, essentially. All you have to do is adjust the water content with 15% flavored syrup and flavor the bread flour to what you would like. Bakeries can use our method of adjusting flour ratios and incorporating new textures and crumb structure to their cream puff. Finally, bakers can also use these results as guidelines to their own creative experiments with oven type and temperature adjustments. The last question is, what questions has your experiment led you to ask that you could be testing in a new investigation? And the questions that our group have really been discussing are, how would alternative ovens affect our products? For example, convection, conventional, a rotating oven, or an alternative deck oven. And secondly, can this method be utilized with other egg-based products like popovers and creme brulee? And would fresh milled flour work as an application or replacement for bread flour as well?
Results. For the flour blends, out of the 6 variations, the flour that resulted in the closest volume compared to the control was the 75-25 bread and cake flour blend, totaling to 4.09 centimeters, whereas the control was 5 centimeters. Oven bake times and temps. Based on the color scale and the cross-section comparison of the control, we were able to conclude that the best alternative bake time would be the 350 deck for 25 minutes and a vent for 15 minutes. Strawberry flavor. Based on the survey, majority of the responses voted for our variation, sample B, because it had the most flavor compared to the control. Crackling thickness. Based on the survey, 60% favored sample B, which is sheeted to number 3, because it looked the best visually and it tasted the best texturally.
So next up, everyone can take out their tasting B. Within tasting B, we have another control cream puff that is using the variation of baking, and this puff individually was baked at 350 convection oven compared to our 375 deck oven control bake. Alright, and everyone can take out their next sample, which is tasting C. Within the tasting C cup, you have a cream puff that is made with 75% bread flour and 25% cake flour. Our control cream puff was made with 100% bread flour. The next sample you'll be trying is sample D. Inside the sample D cup, you have a cream puff shell that has a number 3 sheeted cracklin on top. Our control as well has a number 3 cracklin on top. The next sample you will be trying is Tasting E. Inside the Tasting E cup, you have a strawberry flavored pata choux dough and a strawberry cracklin. Along with this cream puff, you also have a matcha diplomat cream and fresh strawberry filling to go with it. Compared to our control, which has no strawberry flavoring and no matcha filling.
We investigated which temperature of the oven in conjunction with the amount of time it was baked for to see which combinations would give us the best outcome for the dough. We also tested which flour variations would give us a good rise, texture, and taste, which cracklin thickness looked the best as well as had the best texture, and how to incorporate a strawberry matcha flavor to the cream puff. We believe our hypothesis was supported by our data. We did multiple tests and experiments with a variety of ingredients and methods to achieve what we believe to be the ideal version of our variables we chose. One of the first findings was from our first variable, which was the amount of time we baked the pata choux and what temperature we baked at. We found that the cream puff baked at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 25 minutes and then vented for 15 minutes created a lighter pastry that was more golden brown, rose the highest to 6 centimeters, and had the most air pockets when cut open. Next, we tested different blends of flour. We first tested cake flour, AP flour, whole wheat flour, all at 100%. This gave us not so promising results, but the most successful result was the cake flour. So we decided to try 50% bread flour and 50% cake flour. This batch came out with a nice color and rose to 4.07 centimeters in height. It was a lot softer and a little dense because of the cake flour, so we tested another batch with 75% bread flour and 25% cake flour. This resulted in a sweet, cakey flavor that rose to 4.08 centimeters in height with a spacious air pocket. This variation with the flour test was the best outcome. We then tested our cracklin thickness variation. We sheeted the cracklin to number 2, number 3, and number 4 on the sheeter. Number 3 gave us the best result on top visually and through our survey. The last variation we chose was changing the flavor of the pata choux to strawberry and adding matcha diplomat cream. We tested adding the strawberry flavor with freeze-dried strawberries, strawberry syrup, and strawberry puree. The best outcome was the pata choux dough with 3 grams of strawberry freeze-dried powder and 19 grams of syrup in the water, which was 15% of the total water. This cream puff rose to 4 centimeters in height, had a satisfactory strawberry flavor, and the matcha complemented the strawberry taste.
Here is our recipe index for all the recipes we used for our experiment, which include choux dough, choux topping, and pastry cream. All these recipes were sourced from Chef Noah Carroll from Hyde Park campus. And additionally, we will also be talking about any additional cost variables. The cost variables of this project would include matcha powder, which has an average price of $15 to $25 for 1.5 ounces. Dried strawberry powder, which has an average price of $9.95 for 2.25 ounces. And finally, strawberry syrup, which sells for $6.29 for 375 milliliters. While all of these cost variables are costly if you're doing small batches, this is overall a very costly project if you're producing in mass production and selling at a cost enough to maintain a profit. We'd like to take the time as a group to thank everyone for watching our presentation today and joining in on the tastings. If you have any questions or any concerns about this experiment, please let us know and we'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.